No, I'm not gay, but
What?
I'm about to suck the shit out this game for a bit.
But you can't do this to me.
Granblue Fantasy Relink was announced all the way back in 2016, I believe, and I've been excited for this game for a while. Originally, it was to play a multiplayer anime game with my friends, but times change, so here I am trying the game solo in 2024. These are early impressions, not a full review, as the endgame quest content is something that developers have put a lot of time into, and is where the bulk of the player's time will be spent, upwards of 100 hours as stated by the team. I just wanted to cover how I'm feeling about the story, multiplayer, overall game feel, and maybe for someone on the fence this will let them know if the game is for them or not, and to spark some discussion with people playing the game. If you're into the Granblue series and are looking for more Relink content, I do plan on making more than just this and a review, so consider subscribing. With that being said, let's get into it. Overall impressions for myself are pretty positive about Relink so far. The game opens up with a very nostalgic title screen reminiscent of the Xenoblade or Kingdom Hearts series with just the title and an orchestral relaxing OST that I'll have in the background to listen to. As for the game itself, the presentation is definitely up there. Is this the best looking anime game out there? Not necessarily, but I do think it sets itself apart even in the JRPG space. The characters have solid black outlines around them that give them a manga or comic booky feel in the world, and I really dig that. The skybox and backgrounds look similar to something you would find in work using a watercolor style such as Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash for those that have seen it. Obviously, this style oozes from the original game more than anything, as that's exactly how this game flows. It's the original game brought to a big budget JRPG with action combat and beautiful visuals, and it translates very well. I'm a big fan of the way the game looks. The cutscenes are choreographed and animated well, the primal beasts are imposing not just in stature but the way they're brought to life. The voice actors do an amazing job selling their characters, and while the original gacha game doesn't have English voice acting, these English voice actors do an excellent job in their respective roles. Most notable for me would be the characters such as Catalina, Percival, Vasaraga, and Lancelot. Many of these VAs are reprising their roles from the anime that aired years ago, along with Granblue Versus, and I'm happy to see them playing these characters again, as the Granblue cast is arguably a powerful factor in why the game's world is received so well. Aside from the beautiful world, how are the story beats and quests? The story is a very standard JRPG in nature. I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't played it yet, but the basic premise is that the Grand Cypher crew arrives in the Zega Grande Skydome in search of a piece of the sky map, as the crew's goal is to reach the home of the Astrals, Estalucia. On their journey, they run into some trouble with a group known as the Church of Avia. There's more to it than that, but that's about all I want to get into, as just in case somebody wants to pick up the game themselves, anything more might be considered spoilers. The story somewhat reminds me of Dragon Quest in the sense that it's not trying to be super overtly complex, but it's just there to get you going and like through the gameplay loop. It is good for what it is. Maybe it'll change and become crazy later on and blow my mind, but as of right now, can't say that. The story is more of a slice of the actual grand overarching story present in the mobile game, but can be completely played without prerequisite knowledge, and there are Fate episodes to catch you up on characters, their backstories, and how they joined the crew. Admittedly, these aren't told in the most engaging ways, as most of it is just text boxes flying across the screen, but for those interested in the world of Granblue, there you go. There's also Lyria's journal, which serves as a glossary amongst other things to fill you in on the lore if you want to know more about the universe. I'm sure many people are speeding through the story to get to the endgame loop and play with their friends, so let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. The story was said to be around 20 hours by the devs, but I've heard most players are finishing it around 10 hours or so. If you're looking for an expansive campaign with a bunch of crazy cutscenes, maybe this isn't for you, but I have heard the story does continue into the post-game, so if you're down for a bit less cutscenes and more gameplay, this could be perfect for you. The other takeaway is that this isn't an open world game, it's open zones for the missions, which is something I've seen people are unsure of. First impressions of the gameplay are that it's very well put together. Admittedly, looking at the game and from playing the demo myself, I felt like the game might be a bit too simple or obtuse to maintain my engagement for the 100 hours or so the developers stated I could spend in the endgame. I'm only 12 hours or so in, so we'll definitely revisit this once I've played my fair share of the endgame and different characters, but as of right now, I spent 12 hours, most of it playing either Gran or Percival and having a fun time. The game was originally being developed by Platinum Games, so it does share similarities to the combat found in Nier Automata and Nier Replicant version 1.2, So if you're a fan of that, you'll feel right at home here, with characters like Lancelot even having a similar dash mechanic to that of the Nier characters. Speaking of characters, this is where the bulk of the different playstyles will come from. Many of the moves are of those found in the gacha game, which is a really cool touch. Among other things, they brought over the battle music and sound effects in the original, so players of GBF will find themselves right at home with Relink. The characters are essentially the embodiment of different playstyles and archetypes. You have speedy body types with the invulnerable dodge on hit like Lancelot, characters with a parry such as Zato or Siegfried, who also have animation cancelling and unique combo trees to them. Each character has a gimmick, in my opinion, that separates them from the rest. The downside to a system like this is that if you don't like a character aesthetically but love their moveset, you might not enjoy playing them because of this. For most archetypes though, it seems as if there's at least one or two that are somewhat similar, so hopefully you'll like somebody. The characters do feel different though, not just in animations but also in their skills and what they bring to the table. Take Siegfried as an example. He's a great sword wielder that has gap closers on his special attack and a perfect timing window you need to hit for some extra damage, which adds a mechanic that you have to focus on while fighting bosses aside from just things they throw at you. Lancelot is able to disengage with his special attack that doubles up as a way to perfect dodge while dishing out damage and getting right back into his combos. So far, the only thing that I'd argue is a bit of a gripe for me is some of the characters seem very simple in this aspect and don't have an in-depth basic attack moveset. Some of them make up for it with their skills and building into weaving skills between basic attack chains or to lead into a big charge up hit like Percival's special attack after using a skill. I'm unsure if this changes or if there are more moves that are added as we go on, but I'll see as I play more. I do know there are things such as an air launcher that is unlocked through the skill tree to propel foes in the sky, but I'm looking for something a bit more than that. The combat is fun though, and once you get the hang of a boss, you really feel like you're dancing around them and just denying them from messing with you or getting off their game plan. A bit like a fighting game in that aspect. For example, Catalina can grant herself invincibility through a skill and just completely negate crowd control effects for a time to just say fuck you, my turn, and I love that. Speaking of bosses, I've only just finished chapter 6 of the main story, so I haven't seen every single boss the game has to offer yet, but the movesets have definitely been ramping up in difficulty. For example, at the start of the game, the core game plan mainly revolves around just dodge attack and hit boss till dead. At about chapter 4 or so, the bosses start developing some more mechanics than that, such as tornado slightly altering your movement to get around incoming projectiles, a boss doing AoE attacks so you need to use cover such as a giant icicle to avoid laser ice breath, or swords to jump over before they enclose on your location. I guess a lot of this does boil down to dodge and hit boss, huh? Anyway, there are other mechanics such as a horde fight, giving you the option to pick up projectiles and throw them on a group of mobs to stop them from attacking an NPC and from getting overwhelmed. How in depth this goes I can't say yet, but each fight has added on a layer to the other, thus increasing the game's difficulty slightly, but also keeping fights fresh aside from boss aesthetics. Side note, the boss themes actually slap. I'm loving the music in this game so far. For a similar point of comparison, I'd compare the boss fights in this game to that of a Guardian raid or early Legion raids in Lost Ark. It's good fun, and thankfully there's no money sink aside from the box price to tackle the content. Multiplayer on PC apparently is region locked to whatever country your Steam account is set to, which can be changed to play games with others, but this is a bit of a shame and I hope it's something side games can change in the future, as PlayStation allows for global matchmaking with no issues. The game being region locked does not prevent you from playing with a friend in a different country, just queuing up with randoms will be limited to your region, and I felt this was worth pointing out. The quests I've done in multiplayer haven't been anything too crazy that requires communication and such, but keep in mind I'm very early on, so this could be subject to change. It's also worth keeping in mind for the solo players that you do not need to play in multiplayer at all, and can tackle the multiplayer hub quest solo or with AI companions and not have to go online ever, which is a great thing and reminds me of Monster Hunter or the original GBF in that light. I am happy the game has multiplayer and hope to see a thriving community going forward. Performance is the last thing I'll talk about. I'm running the game with a GeForce 3080 Ti and a Ryzen 5600X for the processor, and the game runs solid at 120 FPS at 1440p for me. I have had frame drops during some scenes of dialogue, but it never dropped below 60, and during the actual combat I haven't had any issues. I'm definitely above the recommended or minimum specs, so take that as you will, but I can't report any issues there. The only bugs or problems I've had is the game freezing, such as me moving the camera right before a cutscene triggers, or sometimes loading to a new zone. I'd have to close the game, reopen, and there were no issues, so make of that what you will. If it's a common issue, I do hope it gets patched soon, but no word of this yet. There is a website link with known issues that the team has found, so I'll link that below, and if your issue's not there, maybe you could report it to them and hopefully that would get fixed. Granblue Fantasy Relink was a game I've been interested for years now, and I'm happy to say that after 12 hours of gameplay, the quality holds up, and while it took a long time to come out, it's a solid release to start off 2024. I'll be making a follow-up video to this after I've gotten through the endgame and experienced the rest of what Relink has to offer, and see if the quality holds up throughout. Overall though, I'd say if you're interested in the game, it's definitely worth checking out, as the gameplay is very fun, and you can tell the developers put a lot of care into this product, and I hope to see Cygames either make a follow-up to this or games of a similar style in the future. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. Regardless, thank you for your time, and have a good day.